Welcome everyone and thanks for joining me for my second ever pay-per-view in this TEW 2020 AEW series. This is AEW Halloween Havoc. Pyro erupts from the Halloween Havoc pumpkin set. The camera shifts through the crowd and then it transitions to the commentary table where we see JR and Tony Schiavone. I've took Excalibur off commentary for pay-per-view events if you remember back at All Out. JR goes on to say, "Welcome ladies and gentlemen to one of the most iconic pay-per-views in all of wrestling, Halloween Havoc. We are live in the Carrier Dome in front of 30-odd thousand fans. That's the most we've ever had, 35,000 for a pay-per-view event. I'm JR and sat alongside me is Tony Schiavone. What a night we have lined up. We certainly do, JR. Private Party are set to put their number one contendership for the AEW World Tag Team Championships on the line as they take on the Lucha Brothers. Also, Chris Jericho will step into the ring against the enigma that is Darby Allin. And how can we forget, kicking tonight's show off, the second ever steel cage match between the AEW World Champion Jon Moxley and MJF's bodyguard Wardlow. He has a bit of experience in a steel cage, as he featured in the first one here in AEW against Cody. The steel cage surrounds the ring as steam rises up from all four corners. Let's take a quick look though at tonight's match card. So we've got Lance Archer, the Motorhawk Monster, up against Kenny Omega. Also we have that AEW Women's Championship number one contendership battle royale. Gonna see 10 women feature in that. Also, as just mentioned, Darby Allin, the enigma that is Darby Allin, will step into the ring against the Inner Circle's Chris Jericho. And after bowing to Death Triangle's demands, Private Party are putting their number one contendership on the line against Triangular Della Muerte, Death Triangle. And that's the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon Jr. and Rey Fenix. There's a lot at stake in this final match of the evening. The lights out and sanction match between Cody and the Machine Brian Cage. A lot at stake for Brian Cage. If he wins this, he wins himself a contract to be an official member of the AEW roster. Should be interesting. But up next, we start tonight with the AEW World Champion Jon Moxley in action against Wardlow in the second ever steel cage match here in AEW. So it's a quick angle first. The entrances, as steam rises from all four corners of the steel cage, Jon Moxley's music hits. He swaggers out to the ring through the crowd with his AEW World Championship over his shoulder. He looks focused and ready as he steps through the door. He takes in his surroundings. Wardlow is out next. He's accompanied by MJF, who's wearing a suit, the number one contender for Mox's World Championship. This will be war. So a strong start to the show. We get 72. Wardlow looked lost out there, which is disappointing to see, but you would be a bit lost about to head into this steel cage. And oh my god, I can't believe we've got an 80 for this. Jon Moxley overcomes Wardlow in the cage match after 12 minutes 44. After pinning Wardlow with the paradigm shift, Wardlow gets an in-ring performance of 44, Moxley carrying the match, but an 80 for a steel cage match. That's fantastic. That's one of our best matches. We will have a look at the top hundreds at the end of this episode, or towards the end of the episode, and that will definitely be up there. I think our best match so far has been between Kenny Omega and Pentagon Jr., but it was a hot crowd on Anderson, the road agent, but an 80, that's fantastic. Jon Moxley, though, it's all on him, all eyes on the champion as he overcomes MJF's bodyguards. So full steam ahead towards that AEW World Championship match between Mox and MJF at Full Gear. Backstage, we see Death Triangle. They seem a bit annoyed as Pentagon Jr. is sat on a medical bed being tended to by Doc Sampson. Sampson turns and says to Pac, "I'm sorry, he can't compete tonight. In doing so, will only make things worse for the groin strain." Pentagon Jr. can't believe what he's hearing. He's distraught. "Are you serious?" "You know what? It's okay, Penta. It's okay. Ray, and it'll be me and you to face Private Party. We got what we wanted from Hangman. I don't need to face him. We got this, Penta. Pac and Rey Fénix walk out, leaving Doc Sampson tending to Pentagon Jr. It is an actual injury as well. He's only out for a couple of days, but it meant that he could have competed, but it would have meant he was working through an injury. So I thought, well, we're going to have to change the card around here. So we dropped the Pac and Hangman match. It wasn't vital to go ahead with that match. This one between Private Party and Death Triangle certainly is, though, as the number 1 contendership is on the line. Then we're backstage with Alicia Aew. She goes on to say, with me at this time, Chris Jericho. Chris, tonight you faced Darby Allin in what some would call quite the grudge match. Tensions have been rising these past few weeks after you said he was Chris Jericho. Shut your ass, Aew. Darby Allin and Matt Hardy made a mistake when they decided to get in the ring with the Inner Circle taking over AEW. This past week on Dynamite, Darby made a mistake, hit me over the back with his stupid skateboard. Which is why I've had the match changed. Tonight isn't just going to be a wrestling match. It's going to be a street fight. Anything goes. Darby wants to act like a street thug, then let's fight it out in the street. You know, that's what makes me so great at Aew. I'm versatile, I'll fight anywhere, and I'll still win. Jericho walks off with his Inner Circle baseball bat over his shoulder as we pick up a 58 segment rating. Aew improvised well. Jericho benefit from having a hot catchphrase. Now shut your ass. As we move into the number 1 contendership battle royale for the women's title in a bout that didn't have much heat and terrible wrestling. It's Toni Storm, as expected, that came out on top after 10 minutes. The other members of the final four were Riho, Sarah Rowe, finally changed her name, and the alien that is Chris Statlander, with Riho being the final elimination. So close, but yet so far for her. Sarah Rowe with the most eliminations over the course of the match. Got segment rated 45. One of the better ratings that we've got for the women's division here in AEW. So I'm happy with that. And it's going to be Toni Storm then. That's the number 1 contender for Hikaru Shida's AEW women's title. So I wonder where that will go. But after the match, Toni Storm is celebrating in the ring after becoming the new number 1 contender for the women's championship. What a wave she has created in the women's division. And she has only been here for 2 to 3 weeks. Already in the title picture. Unbelievable. She climbs to the middle turnbuckle with her arms raised and then points towards Shida, who has come out and is stood at the top of the ramp. Shida bows, then walks off. This segment getting a 52. Again, just including Toni Storm, the women's division, coming on leaps and bounds, really. We head backstage once again in the Nightmare Family dressing room. Cody is seen getting ready, taping up his wrists, pulling up his knee pads. Brandy Rhodes is there watching on with a look of slight concern. Cody finishes, then looks at Brandy, and they both share a quick kiss of reassurance. Gets to 79. Brandy Rhodes underperformed, but she is concerned. There's only ever been, 2 lights out matches on AEW? Joey Janela and Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley, and both have been, pretty brutal. Then we get a segment between Paige and Omega. Kenny Omega is seen backstage entering his locker room. Inside, Hangman Page is seen sat back, chilling, drinking a few beers, with a few empty bottles scattered about. Kenny Omega, hey, Paige, sorry to hear about your match getting thrown out tonight. It's cool. Yeah, but come on. This is the first ever Halloween Havoc in AEW. Surely you wanted to be a part of it. Nah, it's cool. Takes a swig of beer. Hey, well, maybe you could come out and watch my back tonight against Lance Archer, seeing as, we're tag champs and all. Could do with it. Yeah, can do. Alright, well, see you out there. So Hangman Page continuing this thing, just a couple of word answers to his tag team partner Kenny Omega. It's not looking good between them at the moment, but again, another strong segment rating of 77 between those two. Expect nothing else really anymore, as the angle got the crowd hotter. And then we move into the bit that I was looking forward to the most. In what looks like an industrial street, not far from the arena, Chris Jericho is seen walking on his own with his Inner Circle baseball bat. He shouts, Come on, Darby, you son of a bitch. Where the heck are you? He walks a little further, then stops as he notices Darby sat on some scaffolding. Darby jumps with his skateboard as if going down a half pipe. He skates into Jericho and hits him with a clothesline. Darby and Jericho brawl for a bit, like madmen releasing their frustrations. Darby gets the upper hand, the skateboard comes into play. Out of nowhere, Santana and Ortiz attack Darby from behind. The loaded sock is used. Then Neo 1 flies down, creating a dust cloud. When it settles, Matt Hardy is stood there. But it's Damascus. So this is just the end of part 1 for this match between Jericho and Darby Allin. It gets a 67. Jericho was superb working without a script. Darby Allin did a masterful job of improvising interactions with the crowd, although I was aiming for a cinematic type of match, so there was no crowd. We move into part 2. Santana and Ortiz focus their attention on taking out Matt Hardy as both Jericho and Darby Allin continue to battle with numerous kicks and punches. Various weapons taken from the surrounding area are used by both Jericho and Darby. They head towards an abandoned building. Jericho loses Darby. Once inside, it's quiet. Plastic sheets hang from the ceilings. Shadows of Darby play with Jericho. Then Darby bursts out of the darkness, using the environment to his advantage. Both men continue to battle to the second floor. Jericho hits a Judas effect, knocking out Darby. He grabs him and says, "You son of a bitch, Darby. You like paying her? How about this?" Jericho tosses Darby out of a nearby window from the second floor. He crash lands outside on a collection of wooden pallets. Imagine the impact there. Moments later, Jericho pins and gets the win. He celebrates with Santana and Ortiz. Then, a blacked-out car drives past. The window rolls down and Brody Lee is seen sat in the back, looking on. So the segment getting a 69 here. Darby Allin struggled when going off script. Disappointing to see. We move in to just to round things off after 15:28. It was a good bout that had great heat, good wrestling. Jericho defeating Darby Allin. Jericho with a 59. Good to see Allin getting a 76. It's a cinematic style approach. It paid off. The match came together well. Nice to see as well that it says the industry leader production values added to the cinematic style match. And Darby Allin took a stump bump, as we know, from the second floor during this match. So it's 69 overall for that match between Jericho and Darby Allin. As we move into our next match, I did debate having an angle to split things up between both matches, but one match was done outside. We move into the next match between Kenny Omega and Lance Archer. It's Kenny Omega that comes out on top. We had Jake Roberts distracting Omega in this match, but Omega comes out and wins by submission. Omega was never lifting Lance Archer up for the one-winged angel. It was never happening. We get a 79 for this match. Omega standing out as the better performer, but Lance Archer, there's that decline in physical ability. That's disappointing to see. But where does Lance Archer go from here now? That's 2 big L's he's taken now at our last 2 pay-per-views. You guys are going to have to wait and see, but there's the submission there. You can see my thinking was a couple of V-triggers from Kenny Omega, managed to bring Archer down, and then he locked in an armbar and managed to make Lance Archer tap. So really happy. Another solid match there as we move into our next segment. After the match, Kenny Omega is celebrating. Lance Archer steams off up the entranceway, shoving Jake the Snake out the way. Hangman Page climbs into the ring and hands Kenny a bottle of beer. Page starts drinking. Kenny doesn't. Instead, he pours it on the outside of the ring. Hangman seems a bit taken aback and confronts Kenny. There's a bit of light-hearted pushing and shoving. Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson run down and try to calm things. Watching on, sat front row, are Dax and Cash, FTR. They have slight smirks on their faces and raised eyebrows. So no doubt they're enjoying what they're seeing, but this gets an 81, another strong segment with the Elite here. Or almost the Broken Elite. Things don't look too well at the moment. Hangman and Kenny, tensions rising. What is going to come of these two? Kenny Omega did not do well without following a script. Don't know why it says that from time to time, because we all know that he's okay without a script, Kenny. I'm not sure. But anyway, let's roll in to the next segment. We are backstage with CM Punk. He's seen talking to Brian Cage, who doesn't seem too interested in what's been said. Look, Cage, I'm sorry for not discussing things with you about you being an official member of the roster here in AEW, but tonight you get a chance to become one. For me, you should already be one, but those idiots in charge have no idea what they're doing. This is your perfect chance though. Cody is nothing. I mean, look at you. You'll snap the guy in half, and it's a lights out match. Anything goes. You couldn't have it any easier. Once that's done, hopefully we can put everything behind us, start fresh and dominate. Slightly disappointed with the segment rating of this. Gets a 66. After Brian Cage still doesn't seem too interested in what Punk has to say, he just nods his head and goes back to pumping himself up for his match later tonight against Cody. Brian Cage did not do well with that. Script to follow. CM Punk, well, things aren't looking too promising for him at the moment with this situation. Cage is still in his head, isn't it? After what Cody revealed a couple of weeks ago on Dynamite. And then up next, it's Private Party putting their number one contendership on the line against Death Triangle, Rey Fénix and Pac. It's Private Party that defeat them when Isaiah Cassidy pins Fénix with a quick roll-up. We get a 72 rating for this match. Isaiah Cassidy, Mark Quinn, very consistent with their in-ring performances at the moment. And this is a first. They showed excellent chemistry teaming together, Private Party. But the match did drag at the end. It was a slow burner, although the workers, it went on too long for the workers to really keep the all-out pace going. But the match did get the crowd buzzing. They seemed to enjoy it. Pac and Rey Fénix seemed pretty decent working together as well. I think this is the first time we've put them together as a tag team instead of it being the Lucha Brothers. So I don't think we really missed out too much with Pentagon. Though obviously having Pentagon Jr. involved might have bumped the rating up a bit more. But before the unofficial main event between Cody and Brian Cage, a quick highlight package of the show so far is shown, including Moxley, Omega, Page, Jericho, Allin and MJF. What a night it's been, but we still have one more match to go. The Lights Out match. So we get a 70 for this quick highlight package. Just abusing the names, really. Just getting them thrown in there just so we can up our overall segment rating. It's got to be done. But anyway, the Lights Out match comes to an end after 14 minutes, and it's Cody that overcomes Brian Cage. I really did want to put Cage over because he's had a strong start to his career in AEW. A couple of unsanctioned matches on Dynamite, but to be able to go over Cody at a pay-per-view would have been huge, but Cody was having none of it. But I'm really happy, segment rating, it's a hardcore match. We're calling it Lights Out. A 73, it's not bad. Road Agent was Arn Anderson. The only negative really was that Brian Cage was penalised for inconsistency. He got a 59. Has put in a better in-ring performance, especially that one against Marco Stunt on the last episode of Dynamite, where he got, 63, 61, 63, something like that. But 73 overall, I think that's a great way to end Halloween Havoc. Oh, okay. A 78. So, the most recent episode of Dynamite was slightly better than Halloween Havoc. The show increased our popularity in 51 regions, but we would have gained popularity in 5 British regions, but growth was restricted to the limited number of viewers there. That's interesting. But 78, I'm happy with that. We had, 35,000 fans in attendance. That's the most we've had. And look at the women's division ratings as well. Just because we've brought in the likes of Sarah Rowe and Toni Storm, they've really helped things out. Pretty consistent match there between Jericho and Darby Allin when it comes to ratings. Really impressed with the Omega match against Lance Archer. And of course the Steel Cage match, the match of the night which opened the night. Best match on the card. Let's go and see how well we did then with the buys. So it was a sellout. The Carrier Dome was a sellout in the Tri-State, New York way. That's fantastic. With a show rate of 78. The pay-per-view buy rate was a 1.3. It had 651,000 buys. It had a total of 893. Now, I don't think that's beaten All Out, our previous pay-per-view, but that's okay. I'm okay with that, because Halloween Havoc was only meant to be a bridging pay-per-view. It was supposed to be an episode of Dynamite, really, but I thought, well, let's do it as a pay-per-view. Let's bring back Halloween Havoc into the world of professional wrestling. Let's make a bit of a spectacle out of it, and I feel as though we've got the job done with that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. So Halloween Havoc was shown last night and got 893,000 viewers. That's our viewing figures. The buying rate, of course, we know was got 1.3. So I'm really happy, and that's earned us quite a bit of money as well, I'm sure. You know, having 35,000 fans in attendance, just go and have a look at the Carrier Dome. Well, you know what? I might try and just put it into the video right now so you guys can see. Just imagine AEW selling out that. It'd be insane. So here's our top 100 events. So All Out's been our best events so far, which you can catch on demand right now over on the channel. But our second show was that episode of Dynamite before Halloween Havoc, and then Halloween Havoc obviously follows straight behind with the 78. So everything at the moment, I don't think we've had a poor episode of Dynamite, just looking at that, which is really good to see. We are increasing our popularity. Things can only get better, surely. And we're only a couple of weeks out from our next pay-per-view, which is, of course, Full Gear, the final pay-per-view of the year. Top 100 matches. As I mentioned, Kenny Omega against Pentagon Jr. has been our best match so far, getting an 82. But have a look at that. On the last episode of Dynamite, Jon Moxley and the Young Bucks teaming up, got an 81. Moxley against Jericho at All Out, getting an 81 also. But what I'm really happy about seeing is Moxley against Wardlow in that cage match, getting in fourth with an 80. Oh, I'm really happy with that. So happy. Anyway, that is going to be it for this episode for AEW Halloween Havoc. I really do hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you all very soon for the next episode of Dynamite.